Hello, today I will be discussing the movement known as Black Lives Matter and its impact and what it's continuing to do. Regarding its organizational structure, it's very decentralized. There's no hierarchical chain of command telling who is supposed to be doing what or what orders they're supposed to be carrying out. It's very broad, and there are a lot of people that are able to sort of take that role as a leader in order to make sure everyone's opinions are heard. In 2013, three women who are named Garza, Cullors, and Tometi created this movement in response to a lot of police brutality that was going on. The first demonstration, led by Darnell Moore and Patrisse Cullors, that kind of paved the way for this movement to start to gain traction, was a demonstration of a caravan throughout the city of St. Louis in response to the acquittal of Mike Brown's murderer, who actually was a police officer. So by doing this, they were able to raise awareness and gain a lot more followers, and because of this, a lot of leaders or organizers took this demonstration, and ultimately this resulted in 40 different Black Lives Matter chapters being created. The movement does have a board of directors. They don't necessarily lead the movement, but they are there to sort of keep things in check and organized. They did just induct 3 more board of directors in 2022, 2 female and 1 male, all specializing in different Black human rights awareness causes. So one focuses on having loved ones incarcerated, one specializes in education, and the other simply just Black human rights. Going back with the decentralization, they do have a horizontal organization. Like I said, there's no one person in command telling everyone what to do, and this allows for a lot more policy change to be done because everyone can focus on different things. Regarding media, the media really paved way for more awareness to come to the movement as well as Black civil rights. After the death of George Floyd, things really started to pick up because it was widely televised as well as put all over social media. Because of social media, like I said, a lot of awareness was brought to this cause. There was an Instagram trend where you post a black screen on your page, and this would just show that users are supporting Black Lives Matter and showing distaste towards law enforcement and how they handled things in that event. In 2023, Bess Vader et al. In a Pew Research Center article noted that there was a Twitter uproar, so the hashtag Black Lives Matter was used 44 million times and in 2020, and then this was used by 10 million different users across the world. So it just shows that social media can connect people from all over the world and show the injustices that are occurring. Another Pew Research Center article noted that it allows Black Americans to become more politically active because they are able to meet like-minded people and users and connect with them and share their beliefs and thoughts, and this ultimately lets them become more comfortable, leading to more activism. There are some negatives to the amount of social media and news outlets, however. Because of the protests and rallies following the events of George Floyd's murder, they were able to capture all of the good and bad. Bad things being the vandalism that took place, the destruction of businesses, and harm towards other humans that were in the protests and rallies. So there are a lot of good things that come out of having social media and news outlets covering your movement and the events that go along with it, but there can be some negatives as people might become more hesitant to start following or participating in them because they don't want that negative impact on their lives. The Black Lives Matter movement used direct action as their main form of tactic to spread the word. They used protests, rallies, and sit-ins. Most widely known are the protests following George Floyd. Another very important one is the June 14th blockade of the Bay Bridge in San Francisco, California. CBS News reported on this when it first came out, and there was around 50 vehicles that led a caravan on the bridge and blocked traffic from going through for a couple of hours. which is a long time for California because it's a very traffic-heavy state. They also had protesters lining the edges of the bridge, holding signs and protesting for Black Lives Matter. One of the signs, in fact, did say "silence is compliance," so it's showing that if you're not voicing your opinions or supporting your fellow Black Americans in your community, then you're complying with the injustices that they're being faced with. Regarding the states and political opportunities, the political environment allowed for more goals to be achieved. So since the political environment became very rocky and unstable after the murder of George Floyd, they were allowed to reach different audiences and sort of get their goals across, because everyone was a little uneasy and emotional during that time. They also really focused on law enforcement training during this time because it was a police officer that murdered George Floyd. So they really dug deep into body cameras, and no-knock warrants was another issue that they discussed, whether that was humane or not. There is not one person in power helping them regarding the government. They do have Black American officials in government standings, and they definitely keep the Black Lives Matter movement in the back of their head when discussing policies, but there's no one person. It also helped that President Biden was in office because he was a liberal, and the liberal views align with Black Lives Matter. There's also a liberal shift in young adults across the nation in the younger generation, because we focus more on human rights, and that's exactly what the Black Lives Matter movement is discussing, human rights. Regarding the identity of those that are participating in this movement, they're mostly Black Americans. There are different races that are participating in it, but it is geared more towards Black Americans. There's a lot of young adults in the younger generations that are participating. We're noticing a trend of more political activism, social activism within these younger generations because we feel more comfortable spreading our ideals and voicing our opinions more so than the older generations. The second wave shifted towards law enforcement framing, is in a way. It came down to the fact that the police brutality was getting really out of hand, as it has been historically. However, after George Floyd's murder, it really came down to not wanting this anymore. So their frame shifted from arts, culture, education to more so law enforcement and defunding the police. So the lasting impact that this Black Lives Matter movement has on everyone is that the media and involvement really paved the way for it. Without the media and social media, news outlets covering this, they really wouldn't have had the awareness that they would have not had. Their use of disruptive tactics really also paved the way because it forced people to open their eyes to the injustices and really forced them to hear what Black Americans and what the movement had to say, by causing a lot of emotional reactions out of people. It also really focused on law enforcement training and awareness. Like I just previously mentioned, the use of body cameras really are being more discussed and widely mandated, as well as the discussion on whether or not no-knock warrants are humane or just. The Black Lives Matter movement also, this presentation has been focused on George Floyd and law enforcement and the impact of that, but it also really focuses on arts and culture. They want Black Americans to be able to celebrate who they are and their history and feel comfortable doing that without the world looking at them differently. The last note is that education has gone up dramatically. In Ebbinghaus and Huang, in a Sage Journal article, noted that after the George Floyd murder in 2020, there was an 8.5% increase of Black Americans going towards higher education at elite universities because the Black Lives Matter movement supported them and they knew that they had somebody in their corner to try and achieve those goals for themselves. Thank you.